He was being honored as a hero in Tarrant County. Now I want you to know I dated it, so you can't use it tomorrow.
That's a valuable note, Caden, even though it's not on letterhead. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have a resolution in honor of Recovery Resource Council and a recognition of National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. Commissioner Simmons.
Yes. Eric Niedermeyer, are you here? There you are. There you are. And you brought Becky Tinney with you? Okay, gotcha.
And Rosa birthday.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Rosa. Good to see you guys. Thank you. All right, this resolution is in recognition of National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month, whereas the month of September is designated as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month to recognize and celebrate the individuals who have overcome addiction and to raise awareness about the resources available to support those in recovery. And whereas Recovery Resource Council has been, since 1946, instrumental in providing youth prevention education and other vital services and support to individuals struggling with addiction within Tarrant County. And whereas the council has worked tirelessly to increase access to treatment, promote recovery, and reduce the stigma associated with addiction and substance misuse. And whereas the council has played a crucial role in fostering a supportive and inclusive community for individuals in recovery. And the efforts of the council have had a positive impact on the health and well-being of countless individuals and families in Tarrant County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tarrant County Commissioners Court hereby recognizes and honors Recovery Resource Council for its outstanding contributions to the community during National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month and commends them for their dedication to providing essential services and support to individuals struggling with addiction, and encourages all citizens to support Recovery Resource Council and its mission to promote recovery and reduce the stigma associated with addiction. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed the 17th day of September 24. I move approval of acceptance.
Second.
No, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously.
If you guys would join me at the podium.
Throughout Tarrant County and several other counties in North Texas to promote recovery and help tackle the disease of addiction every single day for individuals and families. One initiative we started almost 3 years ago is our overdose response team. Tarrant County was actually our first overdose response team, which is where we partner an addiction professional with a paramedic to touch base with individuals within 72 hours of surviving an overdose emergency and do our best to connect them to resources. Since launching the Tarrant County team in 2021, we've actually expanded that to 3 other counties, and we have several other teams in the works. But since we started that team in 2021, all of our teams comprehensively, we have attempted to follow up on over 4,000 overdoses in the counties we serve. And we've successfully connected with over 1,800 individuals and did our best to connect them with life-saving resources. So thank you so much for your support and recognition. We're also working to launch an overdose fatality review committee here in Tarrant County. We're having a lunch and learn today to kick off that initiative, and it will be the first in the state of Texas. So again, thank you so much for the recognition and the support of the hard work that we do. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have a proclamation for National Co-Responder and Crisis Responder Week. Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes, see a lot of great friends in the room, a lot of heroes in the back row if everybody can see them. This week is National Co-Responder and Crisis Responder Week. And whereas the National Institute of Mental Health estimates that more than 1 in 5 adults in the United States lives with mental health illnesses and these behavioral health conditions, and whereas Tarrant County recognizes the need for additional and focused resources for individuals experiencing mental health and behavioral crises, and has identified the system of co-responders and mobile crisis teams as an emerging, effective practice, and whereas these co-responder and crisis responder teams utilize the combined expertise of law enforcement and behavioral health clinicians to de-escalate crisis situations in a safe, effective, and informed manner, and whereas team members have shown exceptional commitment, compassion, and courage when helping those in need, and therefore enhancing public safety as it pertains to the mental health crisis within our communities, and whereas the many co-responders and crisis responders carry out this important work across our communities, state, and country, while also working to meet the rising demand for mental health and substance use services. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the week of September 15th, 2024 as Tarrant County Co-Responder and Crisis Responder Week, along with the International Co-Responder Alliance, and call upon Tarrant County residents to recognize, honor, and give thanks to these amazing professionals for their daily service, aiding in safer outcomes and continued commitment to assisting those in crisis. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 17th day of September 24th. I'd move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously.
And with us today, we have representatives in attendance from the Northwest Tarrant Crisis Intervention Team, the Lake Worth Police Department, the Briar Rio Fire Department, Arlington Police Department's Behavioral Health Law Enforcement Unit, and the Fort Worth PD Crisis Intervention Team and MHMR of Tarrant County. If y'all would come up and accept this proclamation.
Good to see you.
I don't know why you make me go first. That's right.
How's it going?
Hey, since we're all close and personal here.
Thank you.
just want to say thank you. I'm from MHMR, and the residents of Tarrant County should be really proud of the alliances that are created here through the leadership of the county and through each and every one of these departments and the leadership of these departments and the work every day of the men and women who participate on these teams, who thoughtfully and carefully and compassionately deal with the needs of our residents. You know, this is, as you all know, not easy work, and it requires such a special touch. And what we have here today is examples of men and women who provide that special touch every day for our residents. Not every circumstance works out exactly as anyone would want, but so many more of them work out well because of the investments that we all have all made, and it's investments of time and talent and treasure that make teams like these work. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judge and Court, for recognizing this very important group of individuals. On behalf of all the law enforcement in the room, I just want to say and acknowledge that we understand that we cannot arrest our way out of every problem. And so it's wonderful to have organizations and partners like MHMR that will walk alongside us as we serve our community. The task is daunting because we do a lot of things outside of law enforcement, and we couldn't do that without your support and the support of organizations like MHMR. So thank you for this recognition. Thank you to all the officers in the room who do this really difficult work that's well outside of anything that you ever learned in the police academy. It's important. It saves lives. So thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Leah White, and I'm the Senior Director of the Law Enforcement Liaison Program with the MHMR of Tarrant County. And I just want to say thank you for this recognition. I've been with this program since 2011, and to see the investment that Tarrant County has with creating co-responder units, investing in mental health, I just want to say thank you, because those words really aren't enough. And we thank you for your ongoing support and advancement in creating co-responder units.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, that now brings us to the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent that we will likely address after closed. So any motion, please make that motion for all items not being done after closed or that have been removed from consent.
Move approval according to what you just said.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these items? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Now that takes us to, I believe, 9A1, if I'm not mistaken. No.
Have we
Yes,
approved the
9A.
minutes?
9A. What?
Have we approved the minutes?
That's what 9A is.
That's on
That's
consent.
part of consent.
Yeah, the minutes are consent.
So, all right, we're up to
Okay.
9A, which is a public hearing to consider Tarrant County government's fiscal year 2025 budget. The public hearing is now open. We have one person signed up to speak, Geraldine Jackie Cox.
Thank you, Court. My name is Geraldine Jackie Cox. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
I am the only person who signed up to speak to this because, in a way, it just seems so futile. The point really here is that later down on the agenda, the same day that you're going to consider what we might have wanted in the way of changes, you're going to adopt the final budget, which was already posted. Do we feel kind of useless coming down here to talk to you? Some days. Some days we get some response. Mr. Ramirez, thank you for what you're doing with the jail. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons, for what you have done. And Commissioner Brooks. I just want to let you know what your posting for today says is that it's requested the Commissioners Court conduct a public hearing to receive public input concerning the budget for fiscal year 2025. Background, state law requires you to do this. Not like it's worth anything, but you have to do it because the legislature and the Constitution assume that maybe what the people have to say will have an impact somewhere, somehow, sometime, maybe. But what will really happen is that you will go on down to item 10A5, where the final recommended budget is on the same agenda as this one, and there's really no point, is there, in just letting us have our little say, because it's a done deal. And so I rise to protest the fact that there is little or no room for consideration of what the public really want in this proceeding.
All right, there is no one else signed up to speak to this. Do we need a motion to close the public hearing? We do? Okay. All right, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Next item is a public hearing to consider salaries of certain elected county and precinct officers contained within Tarrant County government's fiscal year 2025 budget. So this is also a public hearing. The public hearing is now open. The one person I have signed up to speak to this item is Doreen Geiger.
Judge O'Hare was sworn into office January 1st, 2023 at a salary of $211,895. Today, the salary you are voting on for him is $224,191, effective October 1st, 2024. That is an increase of $12,295 for the 21 months he has been in office. Usually, cost of living increases are given in October of each year, and merit raises are given in January. It is possible the county judge could receive another raise in January 25. He will also receive an auto allowance of $17,640. Our county judge is paid more than the county judges in Harris, Dallas, and Bayer counties that all have higher populations than Tarrant County. The proposed salary for October 2024 for the Tarrant County Sheriff is the same, $224,190. In all of the jobs I have had, performance reviews are always done first, and then supervisors decide if raises are to be given based on performance. Since Tarrant County has had to pay millions of dollars to settle lawsuits from deaths and beatings in the jail, I do not understand how the sheriff qualifies for an increase in pay. There are still expensive lawsuits pending that have not yet been settled. We cannot afford this sheriff. Please hold the sheriff accountable for the operation of the entire sheriff's department and especially all the jails. 67 inmates and a newborn baby have died since Wayburn became sheriff in 2017.
All right, that's all we have signed up to speak to this item. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Next brings us to a public hearing to consider the draft Tarrant County Program Year 2023 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. The public hearing is now open. There is no one signed up to speak for this item, on this item.
I have a couple comments, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Or questions. First, can you briefly explain the federal HUD funding tools that are available to combat homelessness and increase affordable housing here?
Good morning, James McClinton, Department Community Development Department Director. Commissioner Simmons, we receive all our federal funding from HUD, and so we receive our community development block grant funding, home funding, and emergency solution grant funding. And in fact, most all of those support affordable housing, and many for homelessness.
So, I was looking through the report, and I guess the numbers just looked low to me with regard to how many people we are helping to house. So there appears to be room for improvement, so that we are providing more affordable housing and helping people, more people get affordable housing. My question here is, given the overwhelming need for affordable housing in Tarrant County, what can we do better to leverage those federal funds?
Well, Commissioner Simmons, one of the things that we have to identify is rents are very high, and not just in Tarrant County, but across the nation. And so our money can only go so far. Construction costs have increased over the last 10 years, just imagine. And so that slows down our ability to provide enough funding to help more homeless and more affordable housing programs. And so I think the court is doing a number of things that have helped. And I think if we continue to do those things, we'll be able to provide more. But if you look at supply and demand, the demand is much higher than the supply is around the country and here in Tarrant County. And so I hope that answers some of the questions. We just went over this. We had this exercise last week at another public event, and you know, we're hanging on to our housing in Tarrant County longer than we used to. We're living longer, and so the turnover is much slower than we'd like. But I think if we continue to put the funds that we do have into affordable housing, we can try to maintain where we're at. Does that help?
Sort of.
Okay.
Because looking through the report, when I see that we helped 38 homeowners, and I look at the amount of funding we got, and we're accounting of 2.1 million, I'm thinking we should be helping more. But that's just I'm not the expert, you are. So I see these millions of dollars in federal funds and less than 100 in this program, less than 50 in that program that we're helping. So just wondering what we can do better, how can we increase the number of families that we're helping? That's it.
Thank you. We're doing our best. Our funding does not increase a large amount every year, and so we tend to use the same amount of money every year and try to do better, and funding just doesn't increase. It doesn't keep up with the cost.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
There is one more factor, and that is the fact that the Department of Housing and Urban Development only allocates so many housing vouchers to our community. And that number that they give us is nowhere near sufficient to meet the demand. Thus, there are waiting lists for those vouchers and for that assistance that are years long in length. And there's not a lot we can do about that, because that depends upon decisions that are made above our pay grades.
That's true, Commissioner. With the vouchers that we do have, we have excellent staff in our housing department that goes through that list as fast as they can and they check that list as often as they can to make sure people are still available and still qualify for those vouchers. In fact, other agencies call us about how we manage our vouchers in the community. And so, very good point that you make. And we're just doing the best we can with the resources that we do have.
And we thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, it's a public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All right, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to item 10A1, which is consideration of Tarrant County's tax rate and resolution for tax year 2024. I will make a motion that we approve the Tarrant County tax rate of .1875 per $100 evaluation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion before we bring up a speaker or two?
Yes. So I attempted to second it, so that means I support this tax rate. Don't think I'll support trying to get below the no new revenue rate next year unless valuations somehow skyrocket. I believe we are approaching a very dangerous levels of revenue given the vital functions this county government must support in our community. As always, I feel like context is in order in these discussions. So here are the tax rates approved last year by some of our sister Texas counties. And I'll start with the smaller ones, I think, and go up the list. So the Williamson County tax rate, 33.3 cents. Montgomery County tax rate, 36.9 cents. El Paso County tax rate is more than 40 cents. Denton County is 18.9, Dallas County 21.5, Bexar County 27.6, Travis County 31.8, and Harris County 35 cents. Now, you'll probably notice that that list includes every one of the largest 5 Texas counties by population. I went a different direction, excluding Tarrant. Every one of those top 5 counties are dealing with similar needs to us in delivering government services to its residents. And that list also includes 3 mid-sized Texas counties that happen to have similar commissioners' court balance of power to ours, meaning they have a Republican majority. And yet those counties, too, realize that in order to deliver necessary county services to their residents, a reasonable tax rate is required. We simply cannot responsibly expect that every single year we can deliver on a below new revenue rate. And that's why this will be my last year supporting this. And I expect bipartisan majority next year to be responsible, look at the growth of this county and what we need with regard to providing services.
All right, any other comments from the court members? All right.
Just that I made my remarks about the need to support the promotion of the general welfare in advance, and I don't see any point in repeating it now.
All right, anything else from court members before we bring up speakers? All right, Billy Wilson.
I'm very good pass.
You signed up for the next 4. Are you passing on just this one or all 4?
All 4.
Okay. All right, Gerald and Jackie Cox.
Thank you, Court. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I noticed that you have a posted notice of meeting to vote on the tax rate online, and it reflects that all of you already voted to approve this. Why are we here? This posted notice on voting says for the proposal, Tim O'Hara, County Judge, Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1, Alyssa Simmons, Commissioner Precinct 2, Gary Fickies, Commissioner Precinct 3, Manny Ramirez, Commissioner Precinct 4. Now, I know that you did vote to send something to us for consideration today, but I didn't think it was a final vote. If it was a final vote, why are we here? And when was notice, formal notice, in compliance with what the statutes require, published, if not by this one? But this one advertises a violation of the Open Meetings Act. At least what it advertises is consensus vote on the matter before it was taken up for public hearing. The other thing I noted about your Commissioner's Court communication with respect to the adoption of the tax rate for 2024 is that it is a combined tax rate, which has one tax rate for maintenance and a sinking fund and another for an M&O tax rate. I think maybe that you should be voting your M&O if you have two tax rates, which are just coming up with an average to present. Wouldn't it be more intellectually honest to let us know what the tax rate for each was going to produce in the way of revenues? And gee, I really wish what it was going to buy in the way of a budget, but I don't have very much faith in that because budgets here move around regularly. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on item XA1. Any further discussion from the court? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Brings us up to, I said XA1, 10A1. Brings us up to 10A2, which is the consideration of Tarrant County government's budget for fiscal year 2025. You've all seen the budget. I have a question for the court members. Does anyone here have any appetite for freezing elected official salaries and undoing it from the other staff members? Anyone have an appetite to do that? Okay. Do we have a motion on item 10A2?
Move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the Tarrant County government's budget for fiscal year 2025. Any discussion?
I'll just make a comment and commend staff again. I know I did it during our budget hearings and every single other elected official who functions as a department head. Every single one of y'all worked tirelessly to get within the budget, and the direction was to get below no new revenue, and we achieved that. Tarrant County special because we do more with less, and so I think if we're doing that, we have to support our employees even more. So I'm very pleased with what budget and your staff and everybody in the county was able to do as a team. And like Commissioner Brooks said, for the first time ever, nobody had an issue with their individual department budget. And so that's a huge feat. So thank you again, Helen and team and everybody else for putting it together. So.
I've got something. I'd like to thank Helen and her team as well. I do have concerns about the budget, as I just noted. Particularly, I'm concerned that despite much hemming and hawing about from this court about the problems in our jail and with the county's mental health crisis, funding to continue the mental health diversion center is not included, and instead we are relying on vague promises from our poor budget director as she tries to find money in the couch cushions to try to continue this absolutely vital service. I am also concerned with what I view in this budget to be a lack of prioritization of public health funding just a few years out from a global pandemic. Otherwise, I am supportive of the budget.
All right, any other comments from commissioners? All right, Ms. Cox?
While Ms. Cox comes, I'm sorry, I wanted to say something to Helen, and I think I've said it to you before. You are our expert, okay? And
The
at some
budget for
point,
this year.
just a
Ms.
second,
Cox,
Ms.
one
Cox.
moment while she's speaking.
Pardon me?
Just a moment.
I'll call you when it's time to go.
Oh, all right.
And at some point,
You can stay there.
no, just stay. I'm almost finished, Jackie. Just stay. Just stay.
Say it again, please.
Just stay right there. Stay there.
Okay.
Okay. So, I feel for you. You are our expert, though. I count on you to advise us. Of course, we are the elected officials, but at some point, you have to tell us this is not going to cut it, commissioners, and we have to listen to you. We have to listen to your guidance. We can't make decisions based on politics and upcoming campaigns and that type of thing. And so if you tell me that there's no new revenue rate next year is causing problems, I will listen to you. You got to stop listening to elected officials. You are the expert, and I want you to remember that. We should be listening to you and your team.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I finally got the budget to download for me this morning. I had a good bit of trouble with that yesterday. But as I went through it, it was not so different. In fact, it was no different than I could tell from what we got earlier, which shows line items that have dollar amounts attached, but no description of programs. So it's kind of an incomprehensible document. It needs a lot of facts that you just can't find. You can word search and dig around and find out where you lost money and where you wanted more. The place where I knew I wanted more was for mental health. The place where I knew I wanted more was for veterans programs and for the homeless. These are just areas which seem to have no priority in the budget making process here. And I think that's a mistake. I think that the industry will not be happy to come here and discover that our homeless problem is really kind of acute and not addressed, or that we are not spending the money that we need to spend to keep our hospital system going. So all I can say is that I wish over time that budget priorities would shift. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Tarrant County 2025 budget. Any further discussion from the court members? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes 4-1. All right, next up, we have consideration of Tarrant County Hospital District's tax rate and resolution for tax year 2024. Do we have a motion or discussion on this item?
Move approval.
I'll make the motion.
What are you moving to approve?
Adjournment.
Well, I was talking to him. He just said motion for approval.
I'll let Gary go.
Okay.
Okay, I make the motion to adopt the tax rate for JPS at 18.25 cents.
All right, we have a motion to adopt the JPS tax rate at 18.25 per 100. I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yes. So I want us to look at some trends here. In the projected 2023 JPS budget, Collected property tax comprises about 41% of JPS's total revenues, which they use to deliver services and fulfill the promises made to bond voters for the additional capabilities to be added in the master facilities plan. Last year, when this court moved to slash the JPS tax rate for the first time to the below no new revenue rate and approved the first homestead exemption, property tax dropped to comprising only 35% of JPS revenue to fund operations and fulfill promises. Now, this year, an interesting thing happened. When looking at the budget submitted, ad valorem tax revenue is omitted from the pie chart depicting its place as total JPS revenue where it has always been. It inexplicably moved from where it previously sat on the consolidated income statement under operating revenues to, for the first time, being placed under operating income. Regardless, in order to conduct an apples-to-apples comparison with past years, I had my staff calculate that number and put it in the revenue pie chart. I have that corrected pie chart and am ready to provide it to any fellow court member who would like it today. The bottom line is, if we adopt this tax rate, tax revenue will drop down to 30% of JPS's operating budget from over 40% just a couple of years ago. In an environment where JPS still has unfulfilled promises to bond voters, where those unfulfilled projects still escalating project costs, where one of those unfulfilled promises includes the Precinct 2 medical home. I cannot vote to approve the further hit to JPS revenue that this below new revenue rate would induce, so I'm a no on this one.
Any other comments from commissioners?
So the proposed rate that we had was 18.75.
Correct.
Gary, your motion was for 18.25?
Right.
What decrease does that represent dollar-wise? Do we know?
So I would tell you that's approximately $14 million. So their current 2025 budget produces excess revenue over expenses, or net income, however you want to define it, is $152.7 million. So again, it can fluctuate some, but I would say that would take their net income down to approximately $138.7 million, give or take. All right, any other questions or comments before we have a speaker? Ms. Cox. Ms. Cox, are you going to speak on this?
So, as you recall, I'm Geraldine Cox again. As you recall, as we went through the budget process for the hospital district, we started off with a tax rate hearing, which cut their revenue before you saw their budget. And you didn't really know, well, I didn't know what was going to happen. There were assurances that members of the court had spoken with the ED for the hospital district. And since she's appointed by you and her board are appointed by you, she said, we'll live with whatever you do to us. And they are living with whatever you did to them. But it's going to be harder for your population to get by. Arlington deserved and was supposed to get a home care center. And it seems to me that what is happening is that the money is all sliding over to Southwest and the new development area. And the rest of us who've been here for years pay for it. How does that seem kind of unfair? And I don't see money going as in the amounts it needs to to Arlington or to Southeast Fort Worth. 76104 has the worst death rate in the nation, or the worst mortality rate in the nation. And JPS is the place where that should be getting reduced or addressed, and they are suffering from reductions in their funding. Their budget shows that they will take a bottom line cut of 45% in their funding. Oh, ouch, does that hurt? Net income goes down 45.1%. Operating loss is 28%. And this just hasn't been made a priority. If I have I hope I don't get shot. I'm trying not to. But the trauma center, the most important trauma center, is at JPS. We have some functions that benefit the populace as a whole that are going to go underfunded. It's going to be a stress. They have a rate of having really wonderful staffing there. One hopes they can maintain it, but they're taking some heavy hits. I regret it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the court? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes 4-1. Next up is item number 4, consideration of the Tarrant County Hospital District's budget for fiscal year 2025. In light of that previously passed, would it be appropriate, Mr. Cradaville, to make a motion to adopt the Tarrant County Hospital District's budget for fiscal year 2025 with a reduction of the 0.5 cents coming out of net income?
Yeah, one moment.
Sure.
Judge, we believe that the court cannot make revisions to the JPS budget. It is presented for either approval or not by the board, and the board of managers, the administrative assembly may present to the board.
So if you...
I'm sorry, I could not hear what you said.
Commissioner Brooks, Mark, we just come to the mic.
Yeah, well,
Judge O'Hare, Commissioner Brooks, it would be our opinion based on the statute that it is the duty of the Board of Managers and the administrator of the hospital district to assemble the budget and then present it to the court for approval or not. And we do not believe the court has the power to make those adjustments. It's a statutory responsibility.
all
of the
right,
district.
so if you move to approve the budget, obviously the budget they've presented is not funded after the tax rate vote. So they are then forced to go adjust. Is that what it boils down to?
That'd be correct, Judge.
Okay. Then in light of that, I guess I would move to approve their budget knowing there's an adjustment that has to be made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Now we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? All right, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. We are now going to take a 5-minute recess. It is 11:16. We'll make it a 6-minute recess. We'll be back at 11:22. We are in recess. All right, we are back from a brief recess. Item 10A5 is to consider and take possible action to terminate an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and the University of North Texas Health Science Center. We will be receiving legal advice in closed, so we will not be addressing that as a court now, but we do have 3 speakers signed up for this item. Ms. Cox, Doreen Geiger, and Serena Kareem. You may step forward.
Well, I suppose that some of you will have seen the online article that says, "Cut up, leased out, the bodies of the poor suffer a final indignity in North Texas." And it's about scandals, or at least in my humble opinion, they're kind of scandalous stories about who gets the money and where they ship the parts and which drug companies pay for which parts and what. Oh, it's not breakfast material. That's all I can tell you. That's what I read it at breakfast, and I went, oh dear, I wish I weren't doing this. But UNT is already canceling their contracts for sale, so they're probably not going to want to be taking our body parts. And then we're going to be left with the problem of what do we do with the unclaimed dead who are down in the morgue at the medical examiner has to examine the unclaimed dead, and they can't find the families or they wouldn't be unclaimed. And I suspect there are a lot of them who are homeless. And you're in the funeral business, or maybe not. I looked it up, and you no longer have a duty to bury paupers by statute. But somebody has to get rid of them. The dead can't just be left lying around on the street or in the fields. So I don't know, Commissioner Brooks and Commissioner Simmons, you have a backhoe that could dig graves for the unmarked graves of the dead. Shall we do that? Should we use our county equipment for burial services if we can find a lot somewhere, one field somewhere that hasn't already got a housing development on it? We have a problem. This is going to be something you're going to have to, what are we going to do with them? You're going to have to address. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Ms. Geiger, we have Ms. Kareem or Karam.
Please be sure to terminate any agreement with University of Texas, of North Texas Health Science Center and any other medical facility, corporation, research facility, anybody that accepts bodies. In my family, we've had 5 relatives that have made the decision to donate their body to science. Every one of those relatives let all of the family members know what they had done and where their body was to go. If someone dies and they have no known relatives, please respect them. If they have not made the decision themselves, or you cannot find a relative that can make that decision, please do not allow those bodies to go to any university facility or medical facility. Thank you.
Is Serena?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Serena Kareem. I'm a nursing student at the University of Texas at Arlington, and I'm also a co-author on the research letter that sparked the NBC investigation about the use of unclaimed bodies in Texas medical schools, made possible by interlocal agreements with Tarrant County. Like many of us, I was shocked to discover that one's body could be dissected, separated, and sold without consent from the deceased or their next of kin. As future healthcare professionals, we are taught to advocate for our patients, to speak up when we feel their rights are violated, and to consider the ethical implications of our practice beyond the hospital. I'm glad to see that these real heartbreaking stories are finally getting the public attention they deserve. and I urge us to terminate this agreement to prevent these violations from happening again.
Thank you. Okay, there's no action to take at this time. We will discuss in executive session and then come out and may or may not take action. Next up, we have out-of-state travel requests. Do we have a motion to approve the out-of-state travel requests?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion before we bring up a speaker? Bishop Kirkland.
It is sad how things are done in this chamber. I'm appalled and saddened that this could be America in 2024, almost 2025, and we still are beating the same old drum of equity and humane treatment. I hold in my hand the agenda for September 17, 2024. Topic A6, consideration of out-of-state travel. I'd like to go on record. NARCAR's leadership meeting, September 23rd to 27th, 2024, San Diego, California, for Commissioner Roy C. Brooks, $733. The corporate premier event brings together county officials across the nation to discuss pressing issues facing their community and residents. As a concerned citizen and clergyman, I would appreciate this council, this committee, this horse and pony show, I like to call it, not calling any special meetings on or about September 23rd through 27th, while one of the only two Democrats is away in San Diego, California. Beautiful southern San Diego, California, the place where I was trained by the finest military organization of the world, the United States Marines. The same place that Anthony Johnson was trained and survived, but could not survive Tarrant County Jail. Dear Commissioners Court, I am not slow, I am not stupid by any means, and neither are any of you. Commissioner Brooks will be out of state from September 23rd through September 27th. Thursday past was a disgrace to this entire county. How could this body meet on such critical issues and topics while the two Democrats are in Washington, D.C.? Thank you again, Mr. Ramirez, for calling the special meeting. However, whomever's in charge of scheduling these special meetings, please consider my underrepresented village. We do not have but two legitimate voices in this chamber. Please don't silence those voices. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons, for taking the key to the Fox house from the hen house, from the Fox, and zooming in that last meeting. My village think that evil is slow and stupid. To the contrary, real evil is dark, it's wicked, it's clever, it's deceitful, it's manipulating, and it is swift. But we're not stupid. We will not fall for the horse manure in this horse and pony show. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second on this item. Any further discussion? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. And that takes us to the auditor's section. First up is item B1, receive and file auditor's report for the county-owned inventory and disposition process.
Good morning. We're asking consideration to receive and file the auditor's report for the county-owned inventory and disposition process. We've worked with both the purchasing department and ITD and come up with some recommendations, which are outlined in the report. And then in October, we'll be bringing back to you the list of items that will need to be removed. Anyone have any questions?
All right, I'll move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions for Kim? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, passes unanimously. Brings us to item C1, budget and risk management, consideration of fiscal year 2025 special purpose budgets.
Yes, we're seeking approval of the special purpose budgets FY25 excluding Fund 213, and we'll present 213 on 10-1 for approval for the
Move
board.
approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the special purpose budget not counting 213. Any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Takes us to I-1 Fire Marshal, consideration to repeal prohibition against outside burning in Tarrant County unincorporated areas. I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Next up, we have purchasing. I will ask our court members to take a look at 01 through 08. Any questions on any of the items 01 through 8?
Move approval of 01 through 08.
Second.
Now we have a motion and a second to approve items 01 through 8. Any discussion there? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Brings us to 08. No, I'm sorry, 09.
Move approval of 9.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve 09. Any discussion on that item? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, it passes unanimously. Now from consent, we now have 023. 023 is consideration of cooperative for law enforcement body camera supplies and equipment. I'll move to approve that item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on that. Any discussion there?
I have a question. Are these for deputies, constables, DA investigators?
The cameras are for the constables. The other items that are on this by-board contract, this particular contract, are also tasers and accessories that we purchase for the sheriff's office.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. With no further discussion, we have one speaker, Nan Terry.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. A while back, the sheriff presented proposals, and then in May, Commissioner Ramirez mentioned proposals, and one of those items were body cameras for detention officers. So I'm glad you clarified that this was for constables, because my question is, when is the sheriff's proposals going to be funded, and will this item actually fund body cameras for detention officers? A few items about the whole agenda item are unclear. What does law enforcement officers mean? Does it mean detention officers, constables, patrol officers? Who will be required to wear them? The buy board attachment to the online agenda lists several items. I think with the exception of Commissioner Ramirez, no one on the dais has ever worn body cameras. No one knows exactly which of the attachment items will actually be required to outfit an employee with a body camera and necessary supplies. The costs are dependent on how many supplies are ordered, but the reader's left with the question, how many supplies does each employee require to be outfitted correctly, and what is the cost? I hope this Commissioner's Court will approve these items to also be used by detention officers, so that we can have more transparency in the jail, so that we know what's happening, not from a camera across the way, but from a body camera of a detention officer right there with a serious incident. In addition, I encourage you to vote for the purchase of these body cameras, but I would implore you to require the release of the video footage created from these purchases in the event of a serious incident, an injury or death of anyone around where the body camera was used by the employee. Just because Ken Paxton will allow Tarrant County to not release, some say hide, videos does not make the decision to not release videos morally right or transparent. I appeal to your sense of decency. Require the release of videos created by your approval of purchase. Do the right thing. Let's make Tarrant County more transparent. And let's work on getting those proposals from the sheriff actually in use. Let's have body cameras for the detention officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. We have a motion and a second on this item. Any discussion, further discussion from the court? All right,
Just that I too support the body cameras for detention officers and look forward to being able to vote for that when it is brought to us.
Working on that.
All right, we have our motion and second. Any further discussion before voting? All right, please cast your vote. Passes unanimously. Brings us to board and commission appointments. Do we have any board or commission appointments to make? All right, seeing none, we will move to public comments. The first speaker I have in public comments is Cassandra Johnson. Following Ms. Johnson, we have Catherine Godby.
Hello to everyone sitting in front of me. I am Cassandra Johnson, the mother of Traylon Wormley, who lost his life inside of Tarrant County Jail July the 20th, 2 years ago. This has been hard to know that each entity under Tarrant County, from Tarrant County Probation, Tarrant County Courts, Tarrant County Sheriff Office, Tarrant County Jail, Tarrant County Hospital, Tarrant County attorneys all knew about my son's injuries. His main organ was damaged, his brain. How did this happen? When I walked side by side, reached out to each department. We had a routine of medical visits at hospitals, communicated with everyone that could have made a difference. How did this happen? And for me today to see that this is still going on, can you imagine how I feel that nothing has changed? The system, the criminal system is broken. For me to know that my son's life was taken July the 20th, 7 days before his court date, and I received an email stating that if he don't show up for court on the 27th, a warrant would be issued for his arrest. Can you imagine how I feel? Come on, team. Help make changes. I didn't prepare for this, but next time I will.
Following Ms. Godby, we have Janelle Johnson.
I have learned a lot about the criminal justice system in the last few years. That's why the radio story I heard yesterday was so disturbing and made me want to speak on this subject. The story was about Houston ending the unjust and exploitive cash bail system, which is great. But not surprisingly, when you think about it, even though people charged with misdemeanors are no longer spending time in jail, the Harris County Jail is still overcrowded. Why is that? Well, basically because the criminal justice system there and here is not really about justice. It's about greed, the bail bond industry, contractors providing phones and tablets, and on and on and on. The system exploits incarcerated people for profit, and so does Tarrant County. The criminal justice system is also about the accumulation of power for power's sake by politicians who benefit from being, for law and order, tough on crime. But tough on crime is not the same as public safety. That is a phrase that some politicians use to create fear and a thirst for vengeance in the minds of people who lack the will to think critically about what they're hearing. If politicians were really interested in public safety, they'd increase the budget for community services like Girls Inc., JPS, the Jail Diversion Center. They would find a way to fund a mental health hospital in Tarrant County. They'd learn from my friend who was on the Texas Board of Criminal Justice, and they would show up at the Tarrant County Jail unannounced, pull some random files, conduct private interviews, and just maybe find out what's really going on there. And they would never consider giving the Tarrant County Sheriff a raise. I've learned all of this about the criminal justice system because I'm no longer quite so asleep as I once was. My eyes have been opened. I'm woke. Thank you.
Following Ms. Johnson, we have Harriet Harrell.
The real cognitive distances that you guys are displaying in regards to my brother's case is so devastating. To know that you guys not only raise the budget for Wayborn, you're honoring MHMR? MHMR, if you're still here, do you know your services were the ones that told my brother when he was trying to get help, when his medication wasn't working, the same medication that you guys have prescribed, he was not violent enough to get help. That's where it started. That's why I'm here. And now, today they have a plaque, and every last one of you guys voted on that. Every last step, like I said, I will be displaying and showing what you guys are hiding. And to know every last one of you guys know what that tape is hiding. And remember, every last one of you guys voted and honoring, promoting that type of behavior. Remember that. This is so devastating. And like I keep saying, every time I come up here, I find new information. And I would keep dedicating all my time to make sure that the Tarrant County residents know what they are signing up for, what they are paying for. But now my family, one thing about it, it's good to know that you guys have the budget. Remember that. Remember that you guys are relying on an expert who still has not come by our household to figure out what steps happened wrong, because obviously their expertise does not work. Have yet. This is what you guys are honoring. Remember that.
Following Ms. Harrell, we have Billy Wilson.
I want to follow up on several items that have been discussed here to find out what is happening regarding their implementation. And first of all, the sheriff's proposals about addressing multiple problems in the jail. Nan Terry spoke about that with you as well, on the body cameras for jailers, the wellness program focused on mental and physical health, and a comprehensive policy review by an external third-party firm. The court has approved seeking proposals on these three, but without a timeline. I'd like the court to ask the sheriff to provide a timeline for implementation of these three items, including clear metrics identifying what success should look like and how the sheriff's office will track and measure levels of success. Additionally, I'd like to suggest that the sheriff includes citizens for input on what constitutes success. In addition, 2 other items from the sheriff are the national search for the jail administrator and filling open jailer positions more quickly by streamlining background investigations. These were mentioned in court but not put on the agenda. And again, I'd like to request on behalf of Tarrant County citizens that a timeline and metrics be provided. On May 9th of this year, Commissioner Ramirez issued a press release indicating that he provided a proposal to the sheriff based on best practices of similarly sized law enforcement agencies to improve transparency and communication to citizens. Included are proposed timelines for video releases, next of kin notification, and media briefings. Tarrant County needs a report on progress on these items. We've spent the last 4 months talking about releasing the video of Anthony Johnson's death. Has the sheriff's office done anything about policy of video release timelines, next of kin notification, or media briefings? If so, it would be in the best interest of the sheriff's office to provide that information. If not, what accountability are you, the court, going to request? Tarrant County was informed of these efforts, so we want an update. And if there's not been a report to you, Commissioner Ramirez, I think that's shocking. It would be helpful to know how the county keeps track of items like these so that important issues do not fall through the cracks. There's some other items that I want to address to you the next time I speak to you. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson, you're up. Following Mr. Wilson, Bishop Kirkland.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Wrong-headed. Ms. Worthing, you said how? It's wrong-headed. What is wrong-headed? A democratic leadership that does not listen to its citizens, that is patriarchal and bullying. We saw last Thursday what democracy looks like. Citizens expressed themselves, and thank you, commissioners, for following what the citizens asked for you to do. And I hope this was a message to you, Mr. O'Hare. You found yourself alone on your vote. And the message, in case you didn't get it, was we, the citizens, would like for you to carry out what we want. We do not need you to tell us what we need. That's paternalism. You said that your attempts to close those sites were supposedly for financial reasons and also for political reasons. We, the people, want our voting to be convenient. That's why we pay our taxes. And we, the people, know that the election was not stolen. So we don't need our funds going to try to prevent election integrity. That a new book that maybe you might want to look at is called Lost Not Stolen, written by a Republican conservative group that has researched the cases that have been said about election integrity and concluded that either the election was stolen, in which case all of us have a problem because there is a crisis in our country, or it was not, in which case it is incumbent upon all of us to say that it was not. For somebody to push voting integrity when there was not voter integrity is to undermine our democracy. Now, I want to talk about the budget because, once again, we the people voted to have our hospital in District 2. What happened? As we're trying to go over this budget, one reason I didn't want to speak on it because I don't have enough information. These decisions are being made in these little back rooms with nobody from here. You can see we've been coming here for 2 years. I don't think anybody here, any of the words that they've been saying have been taken seriously. Ms. Cox comes here constantly telling you what the law is and what you should do, and it's just like you don't listen to them. Ms. Geiger, are you listening to the people? We don't see it. It's called transparency. Just like she just got through saying, we need to see, we don't need a budget that just says this is what it's for. We need to know why it was there. We need links because if you're having meetings, we would like to know what was being said in those meetings. We would like to know who's for it, we would like to know who's against it, and we think that you should be more transparent by one, including the citizens in these meetings, two, by documenting these meetings, and by giving us links where we can go back and look and say, how was the decision made for child care? Because we the people want child care, we the people want mental health, we the people want a lot of things we're
Your
not
time is
getting.
up. Next we have Bishop Kirkland. Following Mr. Kirkland, we have Jimmy Blackwell.
I'm a tough old man. It's my mom's fault because I watched my mom ironing white folks' sheets, 50 cents a sheet, so I can get an education. It's my dad's fault, Commissioner Brooks, because while I was a senior in high school, he enrolled me in Southern Bible. It's the Marines' fault. They taught me I'm few and I'm proud. I'm not forward built, but I am stop six raised. I'm educated at the same time, hadn't lost my hood awareness. I know game when I see game. The Tarrant County Commissioner's Court is like a toothless dog. You cannot even get the DA and the sheriff to come in here. The judge, sir, the only time you flex is for public comment. I get it. It's your playpen for now. Other pastors ask me, Kirk, why are you wasting your time going down there? I say it's easier for me. I'm not here because I believe I will change you or you'll have an awakening of consciousness like Jeremiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, Obadiah, Zechariah, and Amos. My job is only to sound the alarm to the chaos and the confusion that resonates in this room. The Most High wanted me to remind you that commissioners, district attorneys, sheriffs, and even court judges have to stand before him one day. I know that a day of atonement and judgment is coming. That's why I come here. My people are strong. We're the only people that started out 400 years late in the race, and we went from the slave house to the White House. Push us down, watch us rise. My village, we're resilient and strong. We survived the Middle Passage to the slave market, from the slave fields to Jim Crow. We will survive this DA, this sheriff, and even you, Mr. O'Hara. You cannot put out our light. You will not bend us over. Dr. King said, the only time a man can ride your back is if you've been over. Even with your voter intimidation and suppression, it would not break us in this season. We voting, y'all. Not only are we not intimidated by your little committee of 3 of the most distrusted people in the whole county to form a committee about voting fraud. The Most High judged the Babylonian Empire, the Medes, the Grecians, the Romans, and he'll judge America too. And I'm looking forward to that judgment day. Mr. Ramirez, when you were PAO president, you stood behind the officers. I'm depending on you to stand behind your constituency in this horse and pony show.
Following Mr. Blackwell, we have Aubrey Campbell.
The big lie that was manufactured, that the 2020 election was stolen, led to an insurrection at the Capitol building, that endangered many lives, even the vice president who was serving the main perpetrator of the big lie. People died. Now there's another big lie spreading across America faster than a California wildfire. This big lie is even more dangerous because it puts an entire race of people, men, women, and children lives in danger. That big lie is that the Haitian community in Springfield, Ohio is stealing neighbors' cats and dogs and eating them. Even though this claim has been debunked, it is still being used by the mega godfather for dangerous political points. It's hateful and evil. If you have to spread dangerous lies to be elected, then you are not fit to hold that position. I have a truth to share with you, since lies seem to be the norm these days in America. Raise your hand if you've heard of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't Haitian, he was an American. Jeffrey Dahmer didn't eat cats and dogs, he ate human beings. He was a cannibal. So my question to you.
Mr. Blackwell, please lower your voice. Thank you.
Okay, you made me lose my spot. He was a cannibal. So my question to you, does this mean that all Caucasian Americans are cannibals? I'm sure you will say no. Then my suggestion to you is stop trying to pin this big lie on an entire race of Africans of the diaspora, and especially the Haitian community. Hicks, Guerrero, Thomas, Smith, Miller, Lindsay, Lazy, Sears, Turner, Hughes. These are just some of the people that Jeffrey Dahmer ate. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Next up, following Ms. Campbell, we have Alexander Montalvo.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm out of breath. All right. So, Texas law, as well as federal statute, require voting systems to guarantee the voter's right to a secret ballot. All voters, whether it's one voter or thousands, as we have seen affected in the recent revelations that use of countywide voting reveals many voters' ballot choices. If they vote outside of their precinct, due to Texas law requiring precinct-level reporting, any voters that vote outside of their precinct, their vote has to be found, identified, their choices have to be identified, associated with their name so they can be tied back to their precinct for precinct-level reporting. That facilitates the revelation of voters' ballots. That's illegal per state and federal statute. It's already decided. It's non-negotiable. Texas statute outlaws voting systems that may reveal voters' ballot selections. Removal of public records, like polling location data, does not alleviate the violation of ballot secrecy. It actually just violates another part of Texas law, the Public Information Act. And it destroys another part of federal statute, which requires an auditable paper trail. All records created in an election are part of the auditable paper trail and are subject to the Public Information Act. Again, I'll restate, Texas law says that those ballots are supposed to be anonymous. If you're having to redact anything from the election records, you're running an unlawful election. The only way to remedy this issue, which we can actually do before November, is to simply, using our existing locations and our existing machines, assign precincts to polling locations in order for all ballots for a given precinct to be cast together. That not only guarantees an auditable paper trail, it actually will reduce the cost of recounts and audits by keeping all ballots from a given precinct together. I personally experienced this when I was the lead watcher for the Barry Warnick recount over in Dallas County. I wasn't present for the recount in Tarrant because I was the lead watcher over in Dallas, and it was an absolute nightmare. And I've heard good and bad things about the recount here. I can't really speak for it. But what happened over in Dallas was a nightmare. Most of the time for that recount, which cost my candidate over $20,000 to conduct a recount for one Texas House District race, most of the cost, the time was eaten up sorting the ballots out, trying to find the ballots for the precincts with his race on it. Here I have a map, and I'm happy to share it with all of you guys. This is a map that I've created with all of our existing locations. I've taken the liberty to assign precincts and their given voters to these locations, keeping in mind the 10,000 voter cap. And I want to show this to everybody and see if you guys like it in order to guarantee ballot
Thank you.
secrecy
Your
and
time is
an
up.
auditable paper trail. Thank you.
Is Mr. Montalvo present? All right, next is Carolina Rodriguez.
It's Carolina. I just have I have some questions mainly to ask. And one of them's my questions are, I have a few questions for the sheriff. He's not here right now, but I'm sure somebody will ask these questions to him. Or maybe they already have, we just don't know the answers. But why, Sheriff Wayburn, are we only getting the footage of this recent death at the jail? Where's all the 60 other ones? Where are they? Where's the footage for that? Sheriff, how jubilant were you when you saw a way to shift blame from yourself for the shenanigans at the jail to the two guys on the extraction team? And just move all the focus onto those two guys and accuse them of murder. Sheriff Wayburn, have you ever participated or observed any kind of special extraction teams at the jail? Have you ever led any of them? Have you ever changed any of the way that they work? Because if you go on YouTube, that's how extraction teams work. They each have a job. They go in, they extract the person out of the cell, and they each have a job to do. And I know people don't want to hear, well, you can't just blame it on the training, but you know, they just weren't following orders. They really thought they were doing something right. So why are these two guys getting blamed for this death when it should be the people that are leading them? How come the shift leader was allowed to film this procedure? I mean, if I thought I was doing something wrong, I wouldn't be filming it. So why was he allowed to film this extraction? And how jubilant was the sheriff when he got that piece of footage so he could show the world that it wasn't his fault that this man died in the jail, even though we think he did. It's his fault. Why do you continue, Sheriff, to say that there's a jailer shortage when in actuality it's a scheduling problem with a good old boy attitude when you schedule? Why do you have so many people working 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, with overlapping people running in and out from 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11, 7 to shift? The good old boy attitude's not working. Why haven't you guys gotten rid of this guy? And Mr. Ramirez, why don't you quit that commissioner's court and be the sheriff? Why don't you take Sheriff Wayburn out and assign him to look over the jail? He's got experience. We trust him. He's a good guy. He needs to be the sheriff. He can be the sheriff right now and just fix that. I have questions for the DA too. Why don't we have a public defender's office? If we're like the 11th largest city in America, we don't have a public defender's office. And why do you allow the shenanigans with the court-appointed attorneys? So they'll get some of the criminals at the jail, and a lawyer will start with them, and then they'll decide, I don't want this criminal. They pass it to somebody else and have to start all over again. And that's why they're still stuck up there in the jail. Why are shenanigans going on at the jail, such as people that have already made bond or come down on PR bonds? Why do they have to stay there 3 or 4 days? Why can't you just unlock the door and let them out? Instead, you have to take them, change them into the jail clothes, put them up in a pod, take them out so that you get counted for having them in jail. Instead of just opening a door and let them out. Just open the door and let them out. If they made their bond, why are they still sitting in jail? Why does it take a day to let them out? For the court judges.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have any announcements or comments from the court members? Anything from the court? Okay, the Commissioners' Court will now recess the open session and proceed to close to discuss items exempt under Sections 551071, 072, 074, 076, 087, and 0725 of the Texas Government Code. We are in recess. after we had already posted. Yeah, gotcha. Yes. No.
But you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been looking.
Yeah, thank you.
I was looking for it earlier.
Yeah, I got it. All right, where is Mr. Ramirez? There we go. All right, we on? All right, we're back from an executive session. The first item to address is item 10A5, which is consideration possible act to terminate an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and UNT Health Science Center. This was posted on the agenda prior to us at the county receiving notification that they were suspending the program or whatever they've labeled it. So this was placed on prior to us receiving that notice. Do we have a motion to be made regarding item 5?
Yes, I move that this court authorize the county administrator to send a letter acknowledging receipt of termination of the ILA between UNT Health Science Center that we have with UNT Health Science Center concerning Tarrant County's burial program.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Just for further clarity,
yes.
Each member of the court is free to speak on their own, but I believe each member of the court is unanimous in what was their desire to terminate this contract. UNT has already terminated it. We're directing the county administrator to wrap up the program with UNTHSC as fast as humanly possible. I believe it's also, each member of the court agrees, speak now if you don't, that no one's body should be used for medical research absent their pre-death consent or the consent of a loved one, and certainly no one's body should be sold for profit absent consent one way or the other. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
Can I add to my motion?
Yes.
Okay. And yes, I left off, we are directing the county administrator to close out the program with UNT Health Science Center.
Okay, so that's, you are modifying your motion. Who seconded it?
I did.
And do you accept her modification?
I do.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that item? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. Okay, that passes unanimously. The next item is item F2 from consent. Is that the DA
That's correct.
location?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Judge, I know our business office manager is on her way down. I know she was racing down here. The court would like to take up the other items, give her an opportunity to come at the end.
Okay. So, okay, we'll then move to K3 while we wait. I'm not sure even with her here, there's any action to take on that. Does anybody want to ask questions, or do we want to reconvene in 2 weeks on that item?
I would prefer to.
Okay.
So motion, do we need to table it?
We don't need a motion to table, we just take no action.
Take no action.
Yeah, okay, so we'll take no action on item F2. And then we're on to K3, and I believe K3 also, we have directed the county administrator on how to deal with that with HR. There's no action to take on that item.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
I don't believe there's anything else to address, so thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. We are now adjourned.